Thus is poor Suffolk 10 times banished, once by the king, and 3 times thrice by thee. 'Tis not the land I care for. Wert thou thence a wilderness, is populous enough, so Suffolk had thy heavenly company. For where thou art, there is the world itself, with every several pleasure in the world. Where thou art not, desolation. I can no more. Live thou to joy thy life, myself no joy in naught, but that thou liv'st. Henry VI, Part 2. Yeah, that was Act 3, Scene 2. Suffolk saying goodbye to Queen Margaret, which is such a wonderful story, packed within this cycle of histories, that so much of the attention gets drawn to Richard III and the Yorks and all the battles and stuff. But there's this really beautiful love story between Queen Margaret and Suffolk in the early Henry VI Part 1 and Henry VI Part 2. That is, I mean, and again, like I've talked about this in some of the other videos, that the War of the Roses is super influential in Game of Thrones, which is a show and a book series that I really love, the Song of Ice and Fire. And there's there are real echoes of Margaret and Suffolk in this, it's forbidden relationship because she is married to the king, so she can't be with the person she loves. And Henry is this kind of weak, pious, weak man, and that's the opposite of what Margaret is drawn to. Margaret is such a strong, fiery person that she grapples with that, certainly as part of their relationship between her and Henry. Is that, how can she respect this weakling that doesn't put his foot down and just rule his kingdom, contrasted with Suffolk, who's this kind of dynamic, really headstrong, willful character that complements and I think just fits with Margaret much better. And so it's gut-wrenching to see these two people that care about each other not getting to really be together. And this is the last time we see Suffolk in this scene, I think. Maybe it's one of the last times we see Suffolk. And that within Henry VI Part 2, when Suffolk ultimately dies, that really kind of puts Queen Margaret on tilt. She, ascends to being queen, and then pretty much once she loses Suffolk, it is the unraveling of, because the York faction begins to really take hold, and as we see throughout the cycle of plays, the Lancaster Henry monarchy does get toppled. I love this stuff. This is like, and what's cool is that a lot of it's rooted in history. I mean, there is source material that is inspiration for all this, and obviously Shakespeare makes a really good story out of it. But yeah, it's really compelling. There's some really great characters in these really not as well known stories. And I've developed a soft spot for the Margaret Suffolk sub story within Henry VI Part 2 mainly. But even independent of the personal element of it, there's that line about "'Tis not the land I care for, wert thou in a wilderness." Like, he's in love. He cares about her as a person, and it's not because she's Queen of England. If she was queen of a tiny island in the middle of nowhere, he would still care for her. And there's obviously the element of love at play there, but that's an interesting concept to grapple with. Our loyalty to a nation, or loyalty to a land, or loyalty to an idea versus loyalty to an individual. that's just a real that's a great theme, and that appears throughout a lot of Shakespeare. Um, what are you willing to sacrifice to obtain status or power or achieve goals relative to your relationships with individuals? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have meaningful relationships with individuals at a personal level, who cares? Nobody's going to remember you. Like, maybe that's not true. Yeah, maybe you have a legacy, but you'll be dead. So who cares? So you won't know. So yeah, it makes for a more. Within this speech, there are multiple instances where Suffolk really um, wins you over, and as a reader, as a viewer, and this is like the culmination. He's charming. So yeah, this was Henry VI Part 2. It's been a while since I've done one of these. It's been a crazy couple weeks. I officiated a friend of mine's marriage yesterday, which was amazing and fun, but that required a not insignificant amount of preparation and rehearsal in its own right for that. And general kind of summer stuff. I saw a production. Can't remember if I've done a sonnet since I saw a production of Macbeth in Lenox, Massachusetts. It was probably the biggest like production of Macbeth that I'd seen. I'd seen some school productions and I've seen some local productions in New Hampshire, but this was probably the one with the biggest budget. Man, is that a good play? Macbeth is such a good play. There's so much in it. It's got a love story. It's got a personal story. It's got war. It's got supernatural stuff. It's got everything. Yeah, I'm becoming more and more fond of that play as time goes on. But yeah, so I should be able to get back into the swing of things. I'm actually in the middle of moving, so I'm probably going to be. I'm hopefully going to be able to do a couple more of these over the next couple of weeks, but mid-August things should slow down a little bit for me, so I hope to be able to do a few more of these, get back into the sonnets, and then in September I'm actually in a couple plays. I'm going to be in a production of Burial at Thebes, and then later that month I'm going to be in a production of Translations by Brian Friel. So. The famous Irish playwright Brian Friel. So that got me thinking, maybe I'll do a little 4-week unit on Yeats or one of the Irish poets and something like that. And maybe I'll do something Greek in front of before Burial at Thebes goes up. Just since my head is going to be in that brain space. I really don't know a lot of Greek poetry outside of some of the epic poems, but yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and have a great Sunday.